What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So it turns out we have another Direct from Nintendo to look forward to, just not exactly one that most people expect when they hear about a Nintendo Direct, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a delisting that is taking place today for a game that really shows a ridiculous situation, but also a concerning future maybe for games. We'll see there. And we're also going to be talking about 2024 when it comes to Call of Duty and how the franchise could actually find its way onto the Switch based on some new information. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Chrono the Radical Dreamers Edition. We had talked previously about how there was a patch that was going to be pushed out by Square, addressing a lot of issues with the remaster, which came down to things like performance and other glitches. Well, that patch is now live, and we can see this posted up over on Nintendo Life, as they do have the full patch notes here with the frame rate improvements, changes the growth system, and other minor bug fixes. Now, it is mentioned that the game will now run at 60 FPS in battle on all platforms, but oddly enough, for the Switch, in the final battle only, the game will run at 30 FPS. I guess there's just a lot going on there, or just, I don't know, something with the Switch in particular. It wasn't working, so they just have the frame rate, I assume, to a steady 30 frames per second. It's good that they at least got this patch out there just, a day or two after they announced plans to do so. But it is a shame that this will not be part of the cartridge that I'm sure a lot of people picked up for collector's value, yes, but also if they just want a physical copy of Chrono Cross. It was already hard to believe that we were going to get a remaster for it because it seems like Square just kind of forgets about many of their legacy titles, but in this case, at least there is a patch to fix up some of the frustrating issues. Also, with PlayStation VR 2 now out there to the public, we are starting to hear about different patches and updates to current games to enable VR 2 support, one of which is upcoming. A lot of hype around this game, a ton of anticipation, and that's Resident Evil 4 Remake. We can see this posted up over on Twitter from the official account saying VR mode for Resident Evil 4 Remake has started development. Stay tuned for more details. This is awesome because it appears that it's going to be a free update, which would be similar to what we've seen with Resident Evil Village, where there's even a demo, which, by the way, I went on there when I got the VR 2 out, and there's like 3 demos for Resident Evil Village. So Capcom, I assume a demo is coming here pretty soon for Resident Evil 4 Remake. That only makes sense, right? Well, in this case, we do have some sort of experience around RE4 in VR, since there is a version for the Oculus Quest, and it's actually really cool. We've seen some differences between the Quest and PSVR 2, with much more graphical fidelity being available on the VR 2 headset. So seeing what they're showcasing so far with Resident Evil 4 Remake, that is going to be quite the experience for PSVR 2. Oh, and it looks like we have another release from Xbox to look forward to that, yes, is another controller variant. We get a lot of controllers from Microsoft, but this was posted up over on Twitter. This from Bill, who's been very good with their track record, especially when it comes to leaking PlayStation Plus lineups like days before Sony makes that official announcement. This one, though, is the Xbox Wireless Velocity Green Controller, and they've really jumped around with all the different colors for the Xbox Series, so sure, why not get a green controller out there? This, though, coming out next week, according to Bill, that being February 28th. So there you go. If you've been holding out for a green controller, shouldn't be too much longer. Looks like next week it'll go live. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with a new Direct that Nintendo's announced, and they've done this a few times because it's not necessarily for games, which, again, it sounds weird when we thought about the initial inception of what Nintendo planned for their Directs to be about, but now they're wading into the idea of media and movies and other things. Well, take a look at this, posted up over on Twitter from Nintendo of America. Join us at 2 p.m. Pacific on March 9th, so they announced this pretty well in advance, for the world premiere of the Super Mario Bros. Movie's final trailer. No game information will be included in this Nintendo Direct. That is a great idea to put that in there, because you know people would be going into this specific Direct looking for maybe a brand new Mario game to be announced. No, what I would expect from this Direct is legitimately them to show up and just say, here's the trailer. And then after the trailer plays, maybe they come up and say, hey, the movie's out next month. Go see it with the family, and that's kind of it. We've seen this direct before where it was less than 10 minutes, and majority of it was a direct and Miyamoto talking on screen with some of the voice actors popping up to give their take on the Mario universe. This one, though, I do like kind of the artwork they have there, and they have gone about with each trailer just showing off a little bit more of different characters, voices, settings, even plot details. And they get a lot of viewership and analysis around these trailers. So, hey, you know what? I'm excited for the movie to come out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. From what they've shown so far, it looks like it's high quality and it should be a good time at the theater. But this happening on March 9th obviously is getting a lot of people talking because that's the day before Mario Day, which is March 10th. Now, I guess technically that's just about March 10th in Japan. It's close, right? So the following day, there are expectations they may be announcing a bundle of some kind. And this, to refresh your memory, was posted up once again by Bill on Twitter with a Switch console, Red, which I think is just the exact same Mario bundle that we had previously. Remember that came with a carrying case. Mario Odyssey, a digital code, and something related to the upcoming Mario movie. This makes a lot of sense for Nintendo to tweet about this the day after they showcase the trailer in that direct. All right, so I'm thinking this is going to either be, I don't know, a carrying case, something themed around the Mario movie, or potentially vouchers for movie tickets. Why not? I think we've seen this with different games and stuff where you buy a game and it might have a movie ticket attached to it. Sure, Nintendo could do that here as well, especially if it's just a digital code or code of some kind in the box, and you go to the website and you redeem it, and there you go. You have different tickets according to participating movie theaters around you. But yeah, we're coming up on that movie here pretty soon, happening in April, so about a month before. They're going to have their direct showcase, what I assume to be the biggest trailer so far for the movie, and then it's about a month sprint of marketing, pre-screenings, and then eventually the grand reveal. So exciting stuff there for the Mario movie. Next up, let's talk about a strange situation. This having to do with a game being delisted on mobile platforms. But I think this is an important thing to note here, and the potential for what could happen in the future, maybe with other companies, and could even spread outside of mobile games. First, though, let's take a look. This was a statement that was published over on Twitter. This was from Rovio. Now, Rovio is the company behind Angry Birds specifically, but they have done a lot of spin-offs and different versions of the Angry Birds intellectual property for mobile games. They say, we have reviewed the business case of Rovio Classics Angry Birds, and due to the game's impact on our wider games portfolio, we have decided that Rovio Classics Angry Birds will be unlisted from the Google Play Store on Thursday, February 23rd, so today. Additionally, the game will be renamed to Red's First Flight in the App Store pending further review. Rovio Classics Angry Birds will remain playable on devices on which the game has been downloaded, even after it has been unlisted. So this is, again, strange situation here. One, they said they're going to rename it, which I can only imagine just because it'll still technically be available in the App Store. You're able to re-download it if you already have it on a device. I assume that's just for search engine optimization and things like that, because the other Angry Birds games that they have are free to play. This one costs $1, and I had to double check because I'm not a big Angry Birds person. I do remember when it was like exploding in popularity. I remember it was 2010, 2011, but everyone was talking about Angry Birds. Everyone was playing it on their phones, and eventually it got to other platforms, right? It went to with the Xbox, the 3D. I do remember it on the 3DS because I actually think I had the cartridge for that one. They did like Angry Birds Star Wars at one point even, but it's $1 for the classic Angry Birds game. However, there's no microtransactions there. They have advertisements in there, but the real money is with these free-to-play games and microtransactions. So much so that a game that I would assume if it's classic Angry Birds and that's what you want to play is probably pulling you away from any of those free-to-play games that have microtransactions and probably artificial grinding and etc. in there. Maybe you just want to play Angry Birds. Well, according to Rovio, that's a problem for their overall business model. And while I think that's currently just segmented to the mobile side of things, because let's face it, that entire marketplace hinges on free-to-play games. Most people who have phones aren't necessarily out there going, oh, I want to buy this game for $10, $15, $20. Nintendo attempted it with Super Mario Run, and it didn't work. But then they shift to free-to-play with something like Fire Emblem, and they make a ton of money, right? And look at Pokemon Go, and the list goes on and on and on there. So it's something right now to keep an eye on, but the fact that they had to remove a game that did not have post-purchase spend in it because people were spending too much time in there rather than go to the free-to-play games is certainly make it look like your business model is set on a house of cards, and one single Angry Birds classic for $1 could ruin the entire thing. Going forward, when it comes to mobile games, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out and if other companies have to do this. But also think about a lot of the live service and free-to-play games that we're seeing just in gaming overall, consoles, PC, etc. And it does make you wonder about other companies that may feel like, wow, a lot of people are spending time in that game that just doesn't have microtransactions. It's a shame if something would happen to that, like it got delisted. Again, I think that's far off in the future if ever, but definitely want to keep your eye on it. And yeah, apparently if, I don't know when it's getting delisted today, but you might want to go check just in case you wanted that classic Angry Birds experience for $1 rather than get hounded constantly for microtransactions in the free-to-play ones. Next up, let's talk about 2024 and Call of Duty. We had talked previously about Microsoft and Nintendo coming to an agreement for Call of Duty to be pushed to Switch, Nintendo's next platform, and so on for the next 10 years. I say Switch because Brad Smith stood up on stage and used Nintendo's current install base as people that they would be able to push Call of Duty to that do not have it currently. So you start to wonder, how are they going to get Call of Duty on the Switch? Well, one avenue is if it does go to last generation systems like the PS4, the Xbox One. We have seen conversions of games that run on there at 60 frames per second get kind of the frame rate halving, and then it goes there at 30 frames and lower resolution and all these different things. Basically, if it runs at 60 on the PS4, there is at least some sort of path, it appears, for the game to show up on the Switch. Well, take a look at this over on Insider Gaming, where they say Call of Duty 2024 might be coming to past generation consoles. These are documents provided to Insider Gaming from the Activision data breach from December 4th, 2022. By the way, that happened, as they say, in December. Employees at Activision found out fairly recently, so that's not a great situation there, but suggests that Call of Duty 2024, codenamed Cerberus, could be coming to past generation consoles. Now, they do mention, hey, this was December. A lot of this info is dated. It's possible this could be old info and maybe they've changed or pivoted and now this is outdated. But if you consider the fact that Call of Duty most likely isn't going to the Switch this year, right? It's a little late by the time this deal wraps up. Let's say in June at the latest. They're going to be talking about Call of Duty by then, most likely, or at least dropping hints and things like Warzone and other avenues for marketing. So their platforms are set. But next year, 2024, that might be enough time for them to have their porting studio at least put a version of the Call of Duty on the Switch and fulfill that agreement, and then most likely move along to whatever Nintendo has planned for next generation that we all have to assume will be more capable than the current X1. Either way, a lot of this will be hinging on this entire acquisition actually going through, and while it appears progress has been made, it still seems like we're months and months off from this deal officially closing or being rejected and left behind. So we'll have to get through that first, and then I guess we can look towards next year and see if we do get a PS4, Xbox One, and Switch version of Call of Duty. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. This, of course, being a remake of Kirby's Return to Dreamland from the Wii. It's out tomorrow, but reviews did go live yesterday, which we can take a look over on Metacritic, currently sitting at a score of 80. That's with 57 critic reviews. If we take a look at the split, 46 positive and 11 mixed. Now, it did get a perfect score from Player 2, where they say Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is much more than just a remake, offering plenty of new content to fresh and returning players alike. It's impossible not to smile while playing this game, especially alongside friends. I checked out the lowest score, which is sitting at a 50, from Metro Game Central, where they say an undeserved remaster to an unremarkable 2D platformer. That was the primary reason why the soft reboot of Kirby and the Forgotten, Land was necessary in the first place. So a couple of things here. It does have some new modes, that they've shown off, like the little mini game things and all of this. It does have new content and epilogue at the end, and it was highly praised in many of these reviews, but this is still essentially the same game you played back on the Wii, just coming in at $60. Now, that is one of the biggest complaints I've seen, though, overall is, I wouldn't mind getting that new 2D Kirby game, but it's technically a remake of the Wii version, and it's full price. Seems like it's too expensive compared to Metroid Prime Remaster, and I hate to say it, you're going to hear that a lot going forward because that was $40. I think if Metroid Prime Remastered was $60, you wouldn't necessarily hear a lot about this now, but that kind of set the standard and the bar at $40 from Nintendo. Either way, though, this is a fun Kirby game. It might be a bit on the easier side, but for a younger audience, maybe you have some kids or whoever you would like to play through this with, it could be a good time because it does have 4-player co-op. But either way, Kirby's Return to Dreamland does drop tomorrow on the Switch at $59.99. And before we go to the comments of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, free-to-play games are popular on mobile, but have you bought a normally priced cell phone game before that didn't have microtransactions? 54% say yes, then the 46% say no. And you know what's interesting? If you go on like the Google Play Store as an example, there are a lot of older games that have been brought up to phones and you just buy them. Oh, think of Square doing a lot of Final Fantasies and stuff. I did buy Chrono Trigger on phones. At one point I remember I was bored somewhere, might have been on vacation or something, and I was like, oh look, Chrono Trigger's on here, I'll just kind of play through that. And it used like a virtual joystick and buttons, which is fine for an RPG like that. I can't imagine if it was a fighting game or something that needs a bit more in terms of reaction times. The biggest problem with it, though, is it had a form of DRM, and it was really annoying to deal with. If, for example, you dropped cellular phone connection or your Wi-Fi connection, but there are a lot of quote-unquote premium price, which are like $15 on phones, but everyone gravitates towards the free-to-play stuff because it is set up specifically to be played in small bursts and, of course, give you that dopamine high of completing something in a few seconds and a bunch of sparkly stuff happening. And, oh yeah, here's some microtransactions. So, yeah, I guess Angry Birds Classic for $1 was just getting in the way of all of that. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Base saying, I'm with you, John, regarding Mega Man X. My favorites are X3 and X4, and this franchise needs to come back. If getting Mega Man in Minecraft helps to introduce the little blue guy to younger audiences and subsequently converts them into fans, well, that certainly will have been a master move. Great way to ensure new fans will get into new Mega Man games. I have no problem with like X and Minecraft and all this stuff, or even, I don't know, if they want to put X in Fortnite. Fortnite's put like everyone in that game, so maybe it's happened and I just didn't notice. I'm not a big follower of Fortnite there, but yeah, any kind of exposure for Mega Man, especially Mega Man X, is great. I just hope there is a plan, okay, going forward, Capcom, that you eventually announce Mega Man X9, or at the very least, Mega Man 12. Mega Man 11's the best-selling Mega Man game. You're on the upswing right now. Make sure you capitalize on that. But even Nintendo with Metroid, and there was a whole thing about people saying, oh no, Nintendo shouldn't put Samus in Fortnite. And it's like, why? Like, yes, you should do that. It would get many more people checking out that franchise. And trust me, Metroid is certainly a franchise that can use all the help it can get, especially when you look around at all these other Nintendo franchises that are, breaking off 10 million sales stats pretty consistently. Metroid's like roof for a while has been 3 million, and it's just recently broken that. So the more eyes you can get on some of these franchises, like a Mega Man, like a Metroid, the better. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was Rovio delisting Angry Birds Classic that was being sold at $1 because they need more people to go towards the free-to-play games. Do you think that's more or less just a reflection of the mobile market, or could these be concerns going forward for gaming overall? Then also, what about the Super Mario movie? Another direct to look forward to, potentially a Switch bundle the following day. Let me know if you're excited for the big Super Mario movie coming up in April. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.